Hello, this is Fred Liers with Health Products Distributors and another Creating Health Naturally video. And today we're in the kitchen once again and I'm demonstrating a product called Intestinal Rejuvenation Formula. And as the name sounds, this product is designed to act as a product that supports elimination and detoxification. So it's kind of two-pronged. So it's not designed to be a constipation aid or something like that, although it could be. It's designed to rejuvenate the intestines, the entire intestinal lining and tract from the top to the bottom. Here's what it looks like, Intestinal Rejuvenation Formula. It's actually one of our better selling products. We sell a lot of this particular product to naturopaths, naturally oriented medical doctors for their patients, and acupuncturists and other types of natural care practitioners, and of course a lot just to the retail segment because people want to have clean intestines. And I'll explain in greater depth all about this, and I'm going to give a demonstration on how it is to be used. Now, before I go into some of the more of the theory behind it, I want to talk a little bit about the ingredients because it'll become maybe more apparent what the product is designed to do to help improve elimination and detoxification. So the product contains a number of excellent ingredients. These include organic psyllium husk powder, apple pectin, bentonite clay, a cold milled organic flaxseed powder, organic marshmallow root, organic slippery elm bark, activated charcoal, spirulina, inulin, organic ginger root, natural lemon flavor, malic acid, grape extract, organic licorice root, stevia leaf extract, and chlorella growth factor. That's a mouthful. It's a lot of ingredients. It could be more ingredients, so but it's a good number of ingredients. But let me first start by saying that the number one ingredient, which is the organic psyllium husk powder, has been used for over 100 years for cleansing the intestinal lining. And in fact, a very popular book written, I believe, in the mid to late 70s was Robert Gray's Colon Health Handbook. This has a protocol in it that utilizes the psyllium seed powder and psyllium seed husks for cleansing the intestinal tract, and it's really it was kind of a groundbreaking book at the time, but the concepts in it had actually been used for many years. So the psyllium husk has the unique properties of going into the intestinal lining, grabbing onto, I don't know for a better word, things that need to be eliminated, like deposits that are on the intestinal lining, and it swells to many times its volume with water, and then acts as an intestinal sweep. And so that just gives you an idea of the beginnings of intestinal rejuvenation formula, because intestinal rejuvenation formula also has the bentonite clay, which is known to grab onto heavy metals and industrial chemicals. It has the slippery elm bark, which is known to coat and soothe. And it has the marshmallow root, which is similar to that. And these also swell to many times their weight, and they latch on to deposits and sludge and things that have built up over time. You know, the modern Western diet of high in processed foods and things like wheat and grains has a tendency over time, especially into adulthood, where things don't move along. Things kind of get trapped and stuck, and you actually, believe it or not, build up some layers of deposits on the intestinal lining, and this causes problems because it's going to cause problems with absorption of nutrients from your foods, and it's going to cause problems in the form of bowel pockets. And you may not have heard much of bowel pockets, but the truth is, I believe it's the Merck Manual, they say that by age 30 or 35, I don't remember, the vast majority of people will have bowel pockets. Now, that wasn't always the case. However, we have, there's a lot more with food processing and with some of the modifications that have been done with wheat, for example, in terms of hybridization, and now with genetically modified foods. There's perhaps, more people not living on the farm, so to speak, and eating more of these like grains and breads and things. And it's a lot more than just that. It's not quite that simple. But suffice it to say that a lot of modern processed foods, especially if they're genetically modified, but also the hybridized wheats, have a tendency, and carbohydrates in general, have a tendency to degrade the intestinal lining. You've heard of celiac disease or even gluten sensitivities. Well, it starts in the gut, and then inflammation can happen, and then the intestines will secrete mucus to protect themselves, and things get stuck in there, and over time you can develop these layers that build one upon another and then begin to cause problems. And when the intestines get backed up, or when they're not working properly, then you can have everything, you can have all different kinds of problems, from malabsorption to difficulty with digestion to affecting different organs besides the intestinal lining. And there's a lot of gut problems right now in society. And so HPDI, we have an entire line of gut health products. But today I'm just going to focus on the intestinal rejuvenation formula. So there's a long history of intestinal cleansing. And we'd like to think that our product, which has been out for a number of years, is really a breakthrough in terms of what people can expect from a product of this sort. And there's a number of reasons for this. One, this particular formula, it's a powder, and you mix it with water and you drink it. And it has immediate effects, but it also has long-term effects. So for example, I will take it if I have an upset stomach. Or let's say I've eaten something and it's created some type of gastrointestinal distress. Or even in the winter, maybe there's a stomach bug going around. I'm not saying it's a cure for any of these things. I'm simply saying that's when I take it. I don't maybe know why my stomach is hurt. It hurts, or those of my family members. But you can take a single dose of this, or maybe a couple of doses, and notice results immediately, because it's going to latch on and grab on to whatever you've eaten or whatever's in there, and it's going to move it through. But then there's this concept of the longer term use. So, it can work well on a dose-by-dose basis, but it can also work well as part of a program. And HPDI, we have a rejuvenation program, and we have an entire line of rejuvenation superfoods, and we develop products that help with detoxification and elimination and various different aspects of health and nutrition, and ways that we can make ourselves healthier through detoxification, elimination, nutrition. And so the beautiful thing about this particular product is, like I said, it works to help eliminate. It also helps to detoxify. The interesting thing is it's also quite nutritious in itself, with things like chlorella growth factor in it, and slippery elm bark. Sometimes people have a gut problem that they just don't feel like eating. Well, this is something that we've experienced where it's not a food in itself, but it can kind of fill you, and it provides some nutrition. So while it's not designed to be a superfood or to provide nutrition, it nevertheless can provide that role with people who aren't holding food down, or even, and I was going to speak to this perhaps a little later, but this, even though it's an elimination formula, it can actually help with problems like a chronic diarrhea. If you're having a diarrhea problem because due to having caught a stomach bug, and everything's running through you, if you take a larger quantity of this, it actually slows things down, because all those ingredients, they swell up and they act sort of as a sweep, and when you take enough of it, it actually can slow things down to sort of normalize your body. And maybe I'll speak to that a little more in a few minutes. So, so I'm gonna just make up a batch now and show you how easy this is to take. So what I do is, this actually comes with a scoop. As you can see, it's about a tablespoon scoop. But I recommend initially starting with a teaspoon. And I recommend starting in 8 ounces of water. So I have my 8 ounces of water here. And I have my teaspoon. So I'll take a slightly rounded teaspoon, but you could just make it an even teaspoon and place it right into the glass. And then, in this case, I'm using a mason jar. You could use a spoon, but one of the most easy ways that I know of is just to put it in a mason jar with 8 ounces of water. And you cap it. The dark color, by the way, is caused largely by the activated charcoal, which is very powerfully detoxifying. So then you shake it up. Like I said, you could stir it with a spoon, but this is really highly convenient. 8 ounces of water, 1 teaspoon of Intestinal Rejuvenation formula. And voila. Okay, I've cleaned the glass out. So then what I like to do is take a little bit of extra water. I don't know, 4 to 8 ounces, depending on your choice. This is just to clean out the glass and also give your body a little extra water to sort of allow the formula to swell up. You must take enough water with this product. This product will, when taken regularly, actually allow your movement to be very regular and to actually sweep everything out. And for people who are constipated, it can actually be a godsend because it just grabs onto things. It's a lot of fiber in there and it just moves things through. However, when you're first starting, this is why I recommend maybe starting with a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon in 8 ounces of water. Because I personally take, say, a tablespoon and I'll use 16 ounces of water. It's all on the label, the instructions, and on the website, www.integratedhealth.com. And I can handle the larger amounts. It's not going to slow me down at all. It's going to regulate me, which is what it does. But when you're first starting, you want to go a little easy because if you don't have enough water and your body's not quite used to having the fiber at that level in you, you may notice it slow you down. But if you start small and you work up, then you will not have a problem with that. So then I'll just drink the rest of my water with the residual Intestinal Rejuvenation formula. And that's it. It's a very simple product to use. It travels well. When I go traveling, I will often just carry a small baggie of it with me. I have one right here. I keep this ready in the kitchen for times that I'm going to be, say, away for a weekend or a week, or depending if I'm on vacation, whatever, because I recently was on a vacation this summer. And it's beautiful because it's so easy to take. It's just a powder. It travels. There's no muss, no fuss. As long as you have water and a jar or a glass and a spoon, you can take this anytime, anywhere. I want to now talk a little bit about the long-term cleansing that I was beginning to speak about. Now, when you take this, say you do a course. So let's say you decided that you were going to work up to a tablespoon and then proceed to do that every day for a month or two. In the Colon Health Handbook, Robert Gray would recommend doing up to 3 months of using psyllium husks. I don't know if you will need to do 3 months. He was doing it therapeutically to really cleanse people out who had huge, pounds and pounds of old waste inside of them. But it worked. And interestingly enough, people really would slim down. There's a lot of stuff that gets held up in our gut, in our intestinal tract over the years. And so what I will typically do using the intestinal rejuvenation formula is a couple times a year for maybe, in the past I'd done it, maybe 3 months. But maybe just I'll do it a month or two. I'll work my way up to a tablespoon, which I'm pretty much at now anyway. But that's what you would do. And then you can take 1 to say 3 or 4 doses a day for an extended period. And what you'll find if you can maintain even 1 dose a day, but if you wanted to try to do 2 or 3 doses a day for, go easy, pay attention to your body, do it for a month or do it for 3 weeks and see where you're at. And what you will notice is that you may lose some weight, but you'll notice that stuff is coming out of you. And it may initially just be the intestinal rejuvenation formula, but depending on who you are and what your diet has been like and how long your diet has been what it is and what it has been, it actually latches on to deposits inside of you, and those come out. And an additional benefit is the parasites come out as well. If there's any parasites in there and there's nothing left for them to hang on to, they come out. So I'm not saying it is designed to be a parasite cleanse, but if you're cleansing yourself to this level, the parasites will typically be eliminated, I don't know, maybe in week 2 or 3, depending on the level at which you're at. So this is truly an amazing product, and people have used the ingredients in this product for a long time. It tastes good. It's got a little stevia in it. It also has some licorice root, and so it actually has a real nice flavor to it, and some lemon. There's some lemon flavor. It's natural, and so you will not find this hard to quaff down at all. It won't be like, forcing yourself to drink it. My son has been drinking this since he was maybe 3. Now, I want to address one other factor. I know this, I want to move along here. This can also be used as a poultice. Now, I was thinking of just reserving this discussion for a future video, and I still might do that. But what I mean by a poultice is the ingredients in this particular product do have some really interesting characteristics, and one of which is they're very drawing. So just as in your intestines, they're pulling bowel pockets out, and they're sort of sucking toxins out of you. Well, the ingredients like the charcoal and the bentonite clay and the slippery elm work really well actually externally on stings and bites. So you can use this for bee stings, ant stings, spider bites. You could even use it for snake bites. And now I'm not making claims, but I have not used this for a snake bite myself, but I have some anecdotes that I can give you. But I do use it for bee stings and wasp stings and things like that, which happen periodically. So what you would do is you would get yourself a small container, like a little bowl. So I have a little glass bowl here. And you would add a small amount of the intestinal rejuvenation formula. And when I say small amount, you can, depends on the size of the bite, of course. But, it doesn't hurt to make extra. As long as it's kept moist and maybe in a refrigerator or covered where the moisture can't dry out your poultice, it should be fine. So I'm putting a little bit in my little glass bowl, a couple little spoonfuls. And then I'm going to add a little water. I'm not going to do a huge long demonstration, and I probably won't put this on my skin, but I just wanted to show you. Just add a little water. Now I'm going to stir this. And you'll see. So if you say to yourself, wow, that's a lot of water, how is this stuff going to go in? Maybe I used too much, but no. As you watch, it starts to absorb the water, and you start to get kind of like a paste. You want to mix it up really, really well. Get that water in there. And so now it's starting to get a nice thick consistency. And so what I will do is I will put a little echinacea on the bite. I always keep a little echinacea tincture around. This is a good brand. It's the Herb Farm Super Echinacea. And I'll take some of that orally as well, a dropper or two, depending. And I will just take this formula, this poultice, as we call it, which is the intestinal rejuvenation formula, and stick it directly on the bite or sting and in the area around it. And then I will usually cover that with some gauze and then maybe some plastic wrap, or if you have a plastic bag, something that's going to keep the moisture in. And then maybe a rubber band around that, or just tape it up. And as long as you keep that on there, I've had a number of scorpion bites where if I get the poultice on pretty quickly, I have no problem. But if I've waited in the past to put the poultice on, hours or days, you do not want to wait. You want to get it on as soon as you possibly can. And if you do that and you take your echinacea and your Pro-C, I take a couple of Pro-C capsules, which is in our foundational supplements. But if you don't have Pro-C, you can take vitamin C, and that will help with the histamine reaction. And lo and behold, that will suck the venom out. It will suck the poison out. And I will probably be doing another video just on the poultice aspect of this, but suffice it to say, we've had friends with snake bites who've gone to the hospital and had the antivenin and done everything they needed to do, but suffered from residual swelling, and they've done really well with the intestinal rejuvenation formula poultices and the echinacea. So I think that's all I have for you today. One last thing, I will show you this is my kit that when I go hiking, I take, and it's got the intestinal rejuvenation formula in a little bag, along with my echinacea and Pro-C and a few homeopathics. And it's nice to know that if you're going to get a bee sting or an ant bite, you can handle it right away. So this is Fred Liers with another Creating Health Naturally video. I hope you enjoyed this discussion of intestinal rejuvenation formula. Until next time, I'll see ya.